name's Cordy, and hopefully this video will be slightly useful to you. So, I guess like me, you may have been a Line 6 Helix user or an HX Stomp user, and you may already know that if you plug in via a USB to your computer, you're using the Helix or the HX Stomp as your interface. When you're doing this, by default, USB output 7 will be sending direct guitar signal to your digital audio workstation. And this is useful for a few things, not least of all to save a take which might have been ruined potentially by like clipping from the actual Helix that had gone into your digital audio workstation. If the take was still good, you can reamp that direct signal if you're recording it. The other reason it's useful is that some producers might ask you if you're working on a project. This happened to me as it happens. They might ask you for a DI signal so that they can make their own decisions whether they reamp the signal themselves through like literal gear, or potentially they might reamp through plugins that they like. You know, however they want to manipulate the sound beyond the original tone that you gave them. Essentially it gives them other options. So I don't use the Helix or the HX Stomp generally as my interface because I use other devices like real amps and real mics all the time as well, or Fractal FM3 or Line 6 Podgo, whatever, so it wouldn't make sense to keep switching them around and using these as an interface every time. What I use is a Steinberg UR RT4. This was an aspect that I was missing from my Helix, purely because I want to record with the Helix, but I also want to be having this DI, so I'd either have to buy a DI box or I track with the Kemper and then go back through Helix Native or use a Kemper profile of my Helix tones, purely so that I can have that DI signal as well. And what I've found chatting to the Bishop game, or Igor from Line 6, is that I've missed a huge trick all along. Yeah, you might already know this, so I was kicking myself, but so the trick is this: at the very start of your signal chain, just put in a mono send block before anything else happens. So that has a send and a drive through, so I'm taking literally a cable out of the send one, and that's sending my direct guitar signal to my digital audio workstation, which I can reamp through Helix Native if I want to, or other plugins if I wanted to. And I'm basically going through and I'm adding this to all of my presets just because it doesn't really take up any extra DSP, it takes up a block, but I can generally find on one of my signal paths a block where I can afford to just chuck it out. So this is saving me from having to track with the Kemper when I prefer to track with the Helix, or it's saving me takes which might go awry, and it's also giving me the opportunity to reamp things and experiment with Helix Native alongside my normal Helix tones. I'm just really grateful to Igor or the Bishop game for pointing that out to me. It's not something that I thought of, but it's been there staring me in the face the whole time and fairly obvious. You could have a send that you put after the cap, and then you could have dry kind of amped signal which you could then put your post effects on, like delays and reverbs. You could do that in the digital audio workstation. You could even send stereo dual amped signal dry to your computer using a stereo send block. I don't know why I've not tried this before, but I haven't, so I just wanted to make a quick video about it. And that's basically what this video is about, and now we're going to do the intro. Alright, so here we start with a normal preset, and what I'm doing is just scrolling all the way to the bottom, send and return, mono, send 1, and then moving that to the very front of my signal chain so that I've got basically just a pure guitar sound, and that's going out via this cable into another input on my interface. Another thing I could do potentially is send a stereo out. So if I send out through send 3 and 4, and I put this, and if I put that after my amps, I could have the dry signal from the amps that could go straight into my digital audio workstation. I could add delays and stuff in the digital audio workstation. So a few kind of little ideas that I've had with this, but super useful, and I'm annoyed that I didn't find it sooner because this could have saved me a lot of hassle. Now in the past I've spoken about my other less successful YouTube ventures, the first of which was skateboarding with lions, and that went off the rails for a few reasons, but one of the key reasons was that children were skateboarding in close proximity to lions, and as a rule that's generally not a great idea. So I was working with a content creation channel, and our first spin-off was skateboarding with tigers, and that was even less successful. Turns out tigers are even more aggressive than a lion, and so that was quickly taken off the table. We also experimented with other animals. Dancing with dolphins was a spin-off. This one was much less gory and much less frenetic, but in a way it was also less exciting, and it didn't capture the interest of viewers in the same way that those previous two incarnations of the series did. And what we would call this was tweaking the levers of jeopardy, and in a way this led us down quite a fruitful path. We had chess with poisonous tree frogs, sharing with sharks, where you try and share an idea with a shark in a swimming pool. Not swimming with sharks, that would have been too obvious. We're sharing with sharks. Now that one, obviously an intense level of jeopardy, great excitement, but at the same time quite dangerous for all of those involved. What we did settle on in the end, we decided the alliteration was a key part of the components of success for a show, and basketball with bears was actually, we got 2 seasons out of that. And the interesting thing about that is that Timothy Treadwell was our inspiration for that, and you might have seen Timothy Treadwell in The Revenant, the Leonardo DiCaprio vehicle. He actually was motion capture for the bear that attacked, spoiler alert. You may have also spotted Timothy Treadwell in The Mandalorian, and I thought that was quite an interesting kind of role he was playing there. Anyway, that was today's video. Thanks for stopping by. Cheers.